Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into The Art of Possibility by Rosamund Zander and Benjamin Zander.
Yeah, it's such a cool book. I mean, it's got this interesting mix of, philosophy and personal stories and practical exercises.
So what's the big takeaway here? What are they trying to get across?
Well, they start off talking about these maps that we all have, and how they shape our perception.
Maps.
Yeah. Think of it like this. We've all got these mental maps we use to navigate life, but sometimes they get a little outdated, right? Or sometimes even plain wrong. We get so stuck in our old ways of thinking and we totally miss out on all these other possibilities.
It's like trying to use a map from the 1800s to get around a modern city.
Exactly. And they use this classic example, the 9-dot puzzle. You know that one where you have to connect all 9 dots with 4 straight lines?
Oh yeah, I remember that one. It's so frustrating.
Most people struggle with it because they subconsciously box themselves in. They assume they have to stay within the square formed by the dots.
You think you're following the rules, but you just can't solve it.
Exactly. And the solution is literally thinking outside the box. It's about going beyond the limitations we put on ourselves. And that's what this book is all about. Challenging those limits and opening ourselves up to new possibilities.
So how do we break free from those old maps?
Well, they introduce this concept called giving an A. It's fascinating, actually. Benjamin Zander, he's a conductor, and he actually tried this in his classes. He gave all his students an A at the beginning of the semester.
Wait, hold on. Seriously?
Yeah.
Everyone gets an A up front. Wouldn't that just, totally mess up the grading system?
You'd think so, right? But what happened was pretty amazing. Instead of worrying about failing or proving themselves, the students became way more engaged and passionate, and they were more willing to take risks.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't about making things easier or ignoring how much effort they put in. It was about shifting the focus from just their performance to their potential.
Exactly. And that created a much more supportive and empowering environment for them to learn.
And did it work? Did the students actually do better?
Yeah. The results were incredible. His students really flourished when they had the freedom to explore and experiment without the pressure of grades.
The book mentions this story about a violinist named Tanya who was kind of cynical at first, but it turns out she had this hidden passion for Mahler.
Yeah. It just shows you how much our assumptions can blind us to people's true potential. Giving an A is all about recognizing that everyone has something special to offer and creating a space for them to really shine.
It's like saying, hey, I believe in you even before you believe in yourself.
Absolutely. And that kind of encouragement can be so powerful. It can totally change how someone approaches a challenge or pursues their passion. It's about moving away from judgment and competition and moving towards support and collaboration.
I can already see how these ideas could apply to everyday life, not just in school.
Right. The book encourages us to think about times when we might be unknowingly playing second fiddle in our own lives.
Oh yeah, I think we've all been there, feeling stuck like we're not making a difference.
Exactly. And sometimes it's because we're comparing ourselves to others, or we're scared to take risks, or we've just lost sight of what really excites us. Zander talks about how he overcame his own second fiddleitis as a conductor. He realized that his true power wasn't about controlling the orchestra. It was about empowering each musician to give their best.
Interesting. So it's about helping others shine rather than worrying about how good you are yourself.
And that's what they call the contribution game. It's about consciously choosing to see yourself and others as making a difference. It doesn't matter how small.
So shifting from a scarcity mindset to one of abundance.
Right, where we all have something to offer.
The book has this touching story about a woman, Marianne, and her relationship with her mother, Marianne, always felt like a failure because she was struggling financially and relying on her mom. But when she shifted her focus and started seeing how she could contribute to her family's well-being, their whole relationship changed.
Yeah, and that story really shows how just a little change in perspective can have this ripple effect, creating positive change for ourselves and everyone around us.
It reminds me of that Margaret Mead quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has."
Love that quote. And that sense of possibility, believing that we can actually make a difference, it's contagious. When we see ourselves as contributors, it inspires others to do the same. That's how real change happens.
Okay, so this next concept is leading from any chair. Can you tell me about the cellist Leaner?
Yeah. Leaner's story is a perfect example of how leadership isn't just about titles or positions. He was a cellist who sat in the back of the orchestra, but his passion was so obvious that he inspired everyone around him. Zander actually asked Leaner to lead the orchestra at one point.
Wow, so he was leading from the back row, Just by being present and passionate?
Exactly. And that's something we can all do no matter what our role is. We can all lead from our own chairs just by bringing our full selves to whatever we're doing, by being present, engaged, enthusiastic.
So it's about inspiring others by being a good example rather than just being the one in charge?
Right. And that kind of leadership is powerful. It can transform organizations, communities, even whole societies.
This is making me think about how I show up in my own life. Am I bringing my full self to my work, my relationships, my passions, or am I holding back?
That's a really good question to ask yourself. And the book has some great tools and practices to help us step into our potential and make a real difference in the world.
And speaking of practical tools, can we talk about rule number 6?
Yeah.
It seems so simple but important, not taking ourselves too seriously.
Oh, yeah. Rule number 6 is all about lightening up and finding the humor in everything. There's this hilarious story in the book about 2 prime ministers who had this secret pact to follow rule number 6. And guess what it was? Don't take yourself so goddamn seriously.
That's great. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the drama of life and forget to laugh at ourselves.
Totally. Rule number 6 is all about remembering to see life as this playful exploration rather than some kind of struggle for survival. It's about embracing the unknown, the unexpected, even the messy parts.
So it's about being present, but not getting so attached to outcomes.
Yeah, it's about not letting fear or the need to control everything stop us from living a full and authentic life.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening. It feels like the book is giving me a whole new way to see the world.
That's fantastic. And we've only just begun. There's so much more to uncover. Each chapter offers us a new way to embrace possibility and create a more fulfilling life.
Well, I'm hooked. I can't wait to see what else is in store.
Me too! Let's jump into the next chapter and see what other gems we can find.
So we've talked about maps and giving everyone an A and leading from any chair. What other cool ideas do these authors have for us?
Well, get ready, because this next one is a bit of a mind-bender. It's called Being the Board. It's all about taking responsibility, but in a totally different way.
Being the board. Okay, I'm picturing myself like on a surfboard, trying not to fall off.
Not exactly. Think of it like a chess game. Instead of being just one piece like the knight or the queen, you become the whole board. You see all the moves and understand the whole game. And you realize that you actually have a say in how it all plays out.
Okay, so I'm not just a player. I'm the playing field itself.
Right. And that gives you a whole new level of power and responsibility. You're not just reacting to what other people do. You're part of a larger system, a web of events and choices.
They use the example of a car accident to illustrate this. Even if you weren't the one who caused it, you can still ask yourself, how did this get on the board that I am?
That's such a powerful question. It's not about blaming yourself. It's about understanding that you're not just a passive bystander. You're actively shaping your reality. Maybe you were in a hurry that day, or you took a different route, or maybe your car needed some work. There are all these little things that could have contributed.
So it's about owning your experience, even if it feels like it was caused by things outside of your control.
Exactly. And that's where true empowerment comes from. When you take ownership, you can actually transform your experience. You can see new possibilities and make different choices in the future.
I can see how that could be really tough, especially when you're dealing with something painful or difficult.
It definitely takes courage and honesty, but the rewards are huge. You can go from feeling like a victim to being a conscious creator of your own life.
The book talks about the difference between gaining control and making a difference. It seems like trying to control everything can actually backfire.
That's a really important point. When we're obsessed with control, we're always trying to force things to go our way. But life is unpredictable. When we shift our focus to making a difference, we open ourselves up to a more collaborative and creative approach. We become more flexible and resilient, and we start to enjoy the journey itself.
Reminds me of that serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Perfect example. It's about realizing that you don't have to be in control of everything to have a positive impact. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let go, surrender to what is.
The book also talks about the importance of apologies in this whole being the board thing. It suggests that when we really ask ourselves that question, how did this get on the board that I am? We often find that we've let a relationship slip somewhere along the way.
Yeah, apologies become a way to acknowledge our part in the breakdown, to take responsibility for what we've done and start to repair the damage. It's about putting relationships above being right, and sometimes that means just saying, I'm sorry.
It's humbling to admit when you've messed up,
Yeah,
but it's so crucial for building trust.
Absolutely. That humility, that willingness to admit you're not perfect, is essential for healing and growth. It helps you move past blame and judgment and into a space of compassion and understanding.
I can see how this could be transformative, not just for individuals, but for our workplaces, communities, even the world as a whole.
Exactly. It challenges us to move beyond pointing fingers and see ourselves as part of a bigger system. It invites us to step up and take responsibility and work together to create a world that's more just and compassionate and sustainable.
It's a good reminder that we're all connected, and our choices and actions have a ripple effect.
Which brings us to the last practice in the book, the WE practice. It's all about recognizing that interconnectedness, cultivating a sense of shared humanity, and working together to create a better future.
So this feels like the culmination of all the previous practices, a call to move beyond our individual egos and embrace a more collaborative way of being.
Right. It's about shifting from me or you to we, recognizing that we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves. We're all connected, and our actions have a real impact on each other.
The book talks about telling the we-e story, the story of our shared humanity and interconnectedness.
And when we tell that story, it shifts our focus away from division and competition and towards collaboration and unity. We start to see what unites us rather than what divides us.
There's that sweet story in the book about Victoria and the Dinty Moore soup. Even though she's bummed that there's only one can left, she focuses on how they can all share it. It's such a simple example, but it really illustrates choosing connection over scarcity.
Right. It's a good reminder that even when resources are limited, we can still approach the situation with an abundance mindset. Find creative ways to share and support each other.
The book also applies the W practice to conflict resolution. You can help us move past those I'm right, you're wrong positions.
Traditional ways of dealing with conflict are all about blame and fault. But the W practice encourages us to share responsibility and look for solutions that work for everyone. It's not a battle to be won. It's an opportunity to grow, understand each other, and connect on a deeper level.
We're all on the same team, even when we disagree. And by working together, we can find solutions that benefit everyone.
The book has some amazing examples of the WE practice in action, like the story of the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission. They used truth-telling, forgiveness, and reconciliation to heal from the trauma of apartheid. It's a powerful example of how the WE practice can help us move past even the most painful experiences and create a more just and equitable future.
It's incredible to see how people can come together and create positive change, even in the face of so much suffering and division.
It's a testament to the power of compassion, understanding, and believing in our shared humanity.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening. It's making me think about my own assumptions and how I can step up and take more responsibility and see the potential for connection and collaboration in every interaction.
That's what's so great about the art of possibility. It gives you this whole new way of seeing the world, a new way of being in a relationship with yourself, with others, and with everything around you.
It's like they're giving us this toolbox filled with amazing concepts and practices that we can use to create a more joyful and fulfilling life.
And the best part is anyone can use these tools. It doesn't matter who you are or what challenges you're facing. The art of possibility offers a path to transformation that's open to all of us.
This has been such a rich and insightful conversation. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, I know.
It really does feel that way. Like every page is packed with these little nuggets of wisdom.
Seriously. And what I really like about it is it's not just theory, It's got all these real-life stories and examples that make it relatable.
Exactly. Like that story about Tanya, the violinist, or Marianne and her mom. Those stories really help me connect with the ideas,
That's the power of stories, right? It helps us understand and remember stuff way better than just explanations. And it creates a sense of connection.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key things that listeners can take away and apply to their own lives?
Well, I think the biggest message is that we have way more power and possibility than we think. We get so caught up in our limiting beliefs and habits that we forget we can choose a different perspective.
It's like we're wearing these blinders that stop us from seeing all the options.
Exactly. And one of the most important things is to start questioning those beliefs. Ask yourself, is this really true, or is this just a story I'm telling myself?
I love that. It's like becoming aware of the stories we're telling ourselves and then rewriting them to be more empowering and expansive.
And it's not about pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about recognizing that even in the middle of those challenges, there's always a spark of possibility, something to build on.
The book talks a lot about being grateful, even for the little things.
Right, because when we focus on what we're grateful for, it shifts our attention away from what we're lacking and towards what we already have.
It's like that saying, what you focus on expands. If you're always focused on the negative, You're just going to get more of that.
But if you focus on the good stuff, it creates a positive cycle that can totally change your experience.
So choosing to see the glass half full, even when things are tough.
And sometimes realizing that what seems like a bad thing might actually be an opportunity in disguise.
Like the example of the total car. Instead of seeing it as a disaster, the person was able to reframe it and see it as a chance to make some positive changes.
Exactly. Even difficult experiences can be transformative if we're open to learning from them.
Another big takeaway for me was the importance of relationships and connection.
Definitely. The book really emphasizes that we're not meant to go through life alone. We need each other. And when we have strong, supportive relationships, they help us grow, be more resilient, and find more joy.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that we can achieve so much more when we work together.
And that brings us back to the WE. It's about moving from a mindset of separation and competition to one of collaboration and unity.
Working towards a common goal, even if we don't always see eye to eye on how to get there.
And when we approach life with that attitude, it opens up so many possibilities. It allows us to tap into this collective wisdom and power that's way bigger than any one of us.
This has been such an inspiring deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for navigating life with more joy and purpose.
That's awesome to hear. And if listeners are looking for more resources or support on their journey of personal growth, I highly recommend the website growth-within.com. It's a great resource with tons of articles, podcasts, and other tools.
Great recommendation. We could all use a little help growing and expanding, and that sounds like a great place to start.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to encourage everyone listening to embrace that spirit of possibility in their own lives. Remember that you have the power to choose your perspective, to create positive change, and to live a life that's truly meaningful and fulfilling.
It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
And as we continue on our own journeys, let's all support each other and remind each other of the incredible potential that we all have. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the art of possibility.